Hello everyone, we're going to be doing fuel injectors on a 2008 Chrysler Sebring. We're going to try and go step by step and show you how to replace all of your injectors. First step would be to relieve the fuel pressure because we don't want to be disconnecting fuel lines with pressure in the system, as it is going to blow out when you take fuel lines. However, this guy has a lot of crap on the back seat, and I believe the correct way is to actually go back there and disconnect the fuel pump and run it. At least that's what the information I found says. I can't find any other way. But I'm not going to be doing that because I'm not going to take all that crap out. So we're going to raw dog it. We're just going to undo the battery terminal, which is the next thing to do, and then go from there. Chrysler, in their infinite wisdom, decided to put the battery way the hell down in there. I think is where it's at, but thankfully they did add a jump point, which is right here. I already did loosen off camera, but it was a little tight, but we just undo this. And then usually what I'll do is I'll either wrap it around in a rag, or you can put a glove over, just anything to make sure it doesn't retouch. Especially since we're working with fuel, the last thing we need is another spark to happen while taking things apart. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to take off the top half of the air box. You don't have to pull the whole thing out, but it's just going to be easier to take off the top. It's these two flaps here. Undo this, pull it off. Undo this hose clamp here, and then we got to remove that hose, pull off these hoses, and undo this EGR pipe as well. Now that we've got those off, and we have left, there is actually one more hose back here, so we gotta take that hose off. And then we gotta remove throttle body connector, I believe that's mass airflow connector, and connectors for these awesome power tuning flaps, or whatever the hell they call them, for the intake. Thankfully, somebody already pre-broke this connector back here. This one, they have all these locking tabs you have to remove. This one's pretty easy. You just kind of pull back, and then you squeeze the black part, and it's supposed to come off. There you go. And then this one, I believe there's supposed to be more to this red plastic here, if it would focus. So I don't really have a whole lot to go off of that. I don't really want to pull it out, the actual sensor, but what you can do is you can get a pick or a screwdriver and kind of feel around for the right spot. And you can actually get on there. You kind of see it wiggling around. Maybe. You kind of see it starting to come out. Maybe we're going from this way. Nope, I want to mess up the connector. I think it's popped out enough, but moved a little bit. Press the black. Nope, still trash. Okay. Alright. Maybe a stubby screwdriver would have been more useful than a little pick. Oh, there we go. Okay. Press that, and then... Wow! Okay. Why? Why? Why do you do this? Oh, I think it came off that time. There we go. So what I actually did there is I actually got the pick just underneath the little black part and lifted it up. I don't know if it might have been stuck because of dirt or whatever, but it did not want to come off right away there. And same with these. Gotta pull these little connectors. Pull that. Big 6-pin. This one might be a little tricky to see. So that's also kind of hard doing it one-handed, as I don't have anything to hold the phone with, as that's what I'm using to record this video. So that's off there, that's off there. Now we got to take off this mount. Looks like maybe a 13 and a 10. So the next step at this point is we have to actually remove this manifold tuning valve to get on the back side to get a couple bolts that hold on the back part of the upper intake. This is going to be a little bit tricky to show. I am going to remove this. It just looks like it's only four 10 mils. That's not going to be a problem to show. It's around the back. We got the tuning flap out. I think the only reason they tell you to take this piece off is so you can get your arm around there better. But you might just barely be able to see it. But that little, oh, focus, that little nub, like right in front of me, is the bolt. Try and get you up. Probably not. Yeah, I don't think that's Oh, they're right there. Right there, you can almost kind of see it. That bolt right there. There's one there, and there's one on the other side we got to take off. Got that back bolt out. The next one, I literally will not be able to show you this one. I do not have a mirror with me, but I can tell you it's bolt looks like this. It's a 13mm bolt. It's pretty much directly. I'm still zoomed in on action. It's pretty much directly right under here where this like crease is. If you go straight back, it's like pretty much right behind this. I was using a 13-inch ratcheting wrench to get the other one. I'm probably gonna do the same thing on this one. So I've got those 2 bolts out. At this point, the only thing that's left is to take out these 6 bolts. One here, there, here, there, and right there. And upper intake should come off after that. At this point, the intake should come off. Make sure you watch the EGR line back there. I'm going to be lifting off the intake and kind of pulling that out just to make sure it doesn't get caught. Maybe, anyway. Am I gonna have to give it bendy? Don't really want to. Somewhere it's hanging up. Not quite sure what. I think it's that. Not very flexible, shocker. Flying out a third hand. Wow. All right, let me evaluate this. I'll be back. So as you can see, the upper intake is now officially off. I figured out I am my own worst enemy, and I didn't read the instructions properly. It doesn't say just to remove the upper bolts for the EGR pipe. You got to pull the whole valve. It's really easy to get to. It's 2 10mm bolts located right down in there, and there's a metal gasket that sits in between. I already took it off, but it's really not too bad. You can get a 10 like straight on. There's really nothing. Focus, stuff in the way. You can get 2 10s on it really easy. So took that off. It also does mention the brackets here. You actually kind of see that one up there. It actually mentions to remove the lower bolts. So this side was kind of fighting me, so I just loosened at the bottom. Now it is a 15mm. It is a bigger bolt, and it's definitely a lot tighter. So there isn't a whole lot of room back there, so it can be a little uncomfortable, but I just loosened it and kind of moved it to the side. You don't gotta pull it the whole way out. But yeah, so now we're at the point we have the fuel rails exposed. I'm going to cover up the intake ports, and then we're gonna get ready to pull the rail off. So I got the intake ports all taped up. That is really important you do that, or do something. You can put rags in there, you can put something to cover those holes, because the last thing you need is for something to fall in there, whether it's a nut or a bolt or something to fall in there, and then you start the car up, and it could lead to some pretty serious problems. But anyway, I did start taking off 2 of the plugs. I did want to show you how to take these off. They're really not too bad. You just have to release the red clip. Usually it's a little bit more, it's all the way flush, and you have to pop it out. If, like the first one I did, this red piece comes off, this is only like a secondary lock. If, say, this were to fly off and you lost it and it didn't fall into here, it's really not the end of the world. You can fix it and replace it if you'd like to. Replacing connectors isn't really that hard. But if this is gone, it's not the end of the world. You still have the main lock, which is this. You kind of see it in there moving. This is what actually like latches on to the injector. So as long as you have this and you pull on it, doesn't come off, you'll still be okay. So I just want to show you this connector, how to remove it. I'm using a pick. Probably a hook would be better, but you can kind of pull on the red a little bit. Pops up just like that. And then if you're able to get your fingers on it, press on the black tab and pull up. And there. Yeah, not too bad. Now all the connectors are off, we're gonna get ready to unbolt the rail, but before we do that, we're gonna actually disconnect the fuel line that goes to this. This has a kind of like quick connect style line. Now, as you remember, we did not relieve the fuel pressure, so there is still pressure in this line. I'm not exactly sure how this is supposed to come off, but I believe as long as you kind of, push this on, give it like a little bit of slack, and release the green, like push them in, it should come back out. So I'm gonna try this up here so you can kind of see that. I'm not sure if this is gonna work at all. I may need to do one of those YouTube cuts where they just tell you to remove the component and it's magically off. Maybe over here. All right, YouTube cut. And just like that, it's off. So, as I said, a little bit of a tip makes it easier if you push the line back on. You squeeze the green, and then you ease the hose off. And be careful, there is still fuel in this, so I have it kind of wrapped up into the side, but yeah, not too bad. So now we're gonna unbolt the rail. I think it's 4 bolts. One here, one right there. We'll have to move our tape. One there, and one there. Okay, we're at the point where we have the fuel rail out. I have it on my tool bench here. Not really much left to do at this point. There's these metal clips that have to be popped off. You can use a screwdriver. I have a little pocket pry bar that I'm going to be using. There's a snap-on one, so I paid way too much for it, but it does pretty good. It does the job, and it's just what I have nearby. But these are the new fuel injectors that I have. I bought it off PartsGeek. There's part number. Warning, cancer. Okay, thank you, standard. But yeah, we're just gonna go ahead and pop these clips. I probably even do it by hand. You might not even need a screwdriver. Oh, almost. It's not very comfortable with one hand. Oh, there we go. Yeah, they just slide off and then slide right back on. These injectors, when you put the clip in, it almost clocks it in a certain direction. So as long as you put it right back on the same way, you shouldn't have any problems with putting it back in. Got all the injectors out, gonna get ready to install the 6 new ones. It is really important that you lubricate the O-rings before you put them in. It's just gonna make installation easier, and it's also gonna help prevent the seal from rolling and causing a leak due to a failed seal. So you can use oil, you can use fuel. I don't really like doing that, but you can. You can use a little bit of oil, which is okay. Personally, what I like to use is Seal Glide. This stuff works pretty awesome for pretty much anything that's rubber, especially seals and things of that nature. Unlike some things in life, a little bit of this stuff, a little bit of lube goes a very long way. You don't need to slather it on. It's not a very big seal. It's a pretty tight hole it's going into. Just a little bit to help it go in there, and then pop the clip on once it's on. Kind of show you what I was talking about. There's not a whole lot on that seal. Personally, I don't like putting too much because I don't want it blocking the port. I actually want to take out a little bit that's sitting there, just so that stuff doesn't get stuck in there, because you don't know how fuel is going to react with it. You don't want it to like gunk up or harden or possibly cause some kind of plug inside the injector. So I'm going to clean off the inside of that bore. But as you can see, just a little bit there. And then as you go to put it in the injector, I'm actually going to switch hands. Give it a little bit of like a twist, kind of help it go in there, and it just kind of falls right in. Actually, this is in backwards because I'm a moron. So I could twist it, but still, make sure the seal's not rolled. Yeah, not too bad. And then you can push it in, and that's pretty much it. It's just like our other one. I'm just gonna put the clip on and do that 4 more times. I also realized I said I was gonna wipe that off, and I completely forgot to wipe that off. So I'm gonna wipe off that bore right there, right now, and then put it back in. Now, same thing. We're gonna have to want to put a little bit of lube on these O-rings as well. I'm gonna put a little bit more on these because they're going into the port of the engine. It's gonna be harder to tell if they're actually sealed. So I'm gonna lubricate these a little bit more than I did with the other end. But the other thing I want to show, something else that I recommend doing before putting them in, is cleaning the bores of the injectors. So there's the bores right there where the injectors actually sit. If I kind of shine my light, you can see it's kind of a pretty nasty hole in there. Focus, thank you. So I'm actually going to brush that out and blow out the hole to help it seal. So I'm going to show you how I'm going to do that. I have this kit here. I believe Astro makes it. It comes with different brushes. There's these nylon ones, I believe they are. These brass ones and these like steel ones. Some of them are pretty screwed up. They're pretty fragile. You can buy replacements of these, but as you can see, like these are freaking mangled. Like there's not any much use left in these. But we're not gonna be using those anyway because I don't want to screw up the actual metal in there. I'm actually gonna be using these. So I'm gonna find one that's close to the size of the hole. I actually go a little bit bigger. I think this one's gonna be pretty close, but yeah, that will go in there, and we're just gonna kind of run it through. I don't have my drill driver in here, so I'm gonna do it by hand, and then we're going to blow it out to make sure none of that crap gets stuck in the chamber. So here I have it on the driver. That's a pretty nifty tool. Definitely works for a variety of different things. But literally, what we're gonna do, we're gonna go one at a time. We're gonna leave these closed up. We're gonna go in here, just kind of clean the hole out, twist it up a little bit, just clean. Make sure that lock is locked. If you use something like this, just make sure it's clean. Shine a light and see. I don't know if you're able to see that, but it's a lot smoother. I'm just gonna take my word for it. It's smoother, I promise. But it's definitely a lot cleaner. And then what we're gonna do to blow it out is I have this nifty tool here. I don't have shop air where I'm working right now, but I do have this little pretty powerful air duster. So turn it on. I mean it's pretty serious. So I'm just gonna shove that pretty close to the hole and blast away. Piece I think just landed somewhere around here. But yeah, a couple little pieces of dirt. They all, whatever came off. A lot of it will just stick to this brush. But if there are any chunks, it's better safe to be sorry and just blow it out. And then what I'll do is I'll move my rag over to the next one. Unfortunately, I might need another one to try and help cover this one on the side. But make room for the middle one, make sure that's blocked. Grab my brush again, go in there. My rag will stop getting in the way. And the same thing, just kind of clean it up. A little bit of twist. Clean it up. Inspect it. Looking better, and then blow it out. Just cover this up. Okay, well, hopefully that didn't go in there. So I'm going to do that 4 more times, and then I'll get back. Okay, now I'm going to get ready to put the fuel rail on. I'm not sure how I'm going to be able to film this, if I go at this angle. Possibly. That's what happens when you don't have a tripod. You just gotta use whatever you can find in the engine bay. But I'm kind of new to this still. Well, let's try maybe that, and we'll go out just a little bit more. Yeah, there we go. Can't see. Be careful with the fuel in there. There's still some fuel in this rail. Couldn't get everything out, so it is going to pour out some. I'll show you how to take care of that afterwards. just like that. Not too bad. And then we'll run the bolts in, and we're going to torque them to spec as well. Okay, so we're going to torque the fuel rail bolts down. Now these bolts that hold the fuel rail on also happen to be the bolts that hold down the lower intake manifold. So they do need to be torqued to spec, and there is a actual sequence for this as well. And that is this one, I guess if you're looking at the front of the engine, the lowest to the left, whatever. This one, then 2, and then 3, and then 4, the one back here. So you gotta do that in that order. The spec is 28 Newton meters if you're a communist, or 20.5 foot-pounds if you are Americanese. I work on European cars, so that's mainly Newton meters I use, so that's what I'm gonna be using here. 28 Newton meters. So, on. Torque, yes, I'm using a snap-on. Yes, I'd have no money, whatever. Suck it, whatever. Beep. 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 There we go. I typically like to go back a second time, just because something that has like a big part, sometimes if you torque one, if you torque the rest, it almost can be uneven, and this might be a little bit less than the rest of them, so I'll usually go back and just double check it, make sure they're all the proper torque. Okay, there we go. Oh my god, it's over torqued. Yeah, whatever. There's also a counter, which is pretty neat on this torque wrench, so I did it twice, 4 bolts, 8 torques. Okay, I got everything all hooked up now. This is unfortunately the camera angle that I have set up. That's how we're doing this. But this will be able to show a couple of things I'm going to do as well. Like I said, if you have fuel leak out, it does evaporate, but if there is something you are worried about, personally what I do is I just use brake parts cleaner. Just kind of spray it off as much as you can. This stuff evaporates too. Evaporates a lot more, I guess, efficiently. It doesn't stick as much. You don't really smell as much of the fuel once you spray it off with this. So that's personally what I do. Just spray off the areas you know fuel leaked. Maybe a couple other places just to be safe. And yeah, go from there. We're going to get ready to put the upper intake manifold on, but we are going to clean the mating surface of the where the gasket goes. There's various different things you can use to clean these surfaces. You don't want to use anything too abrasive. Like I wouldn't use like a die grinder. You can if you have the right cookie on it, something that's not super abrasive, but don't use a crazy abrasive wheel because you are going to gouge the surface and the new gasket isn't going to seal right. Personally, I'm just a big fan of using Scotch-Brite by hand. Yeah, it's a little bit more work, but to me it kind of gives a better finish. Literally just go around, you can kind of see like the lines, like where the old gaskets were. I basically just go over that and just kind of make it so they disappear. I'm gonna go kind of one at a time because I don't want too much debris getting in there. That's gonna be a little bit trickier to clean out. But yeah, just gonna go around a little bit, wipe it off, kind of wipe in here, just make sure there's no residue left. And then yeah, once it's all clean, we'll put the new gasket on the manifold, put the manifold on. So I'll show you what I guess I'll just go right here. Kind of just go across. Someone I found out has been in here at some point because some of the injectors were not factory Chrysler injectors. Whoopee, they failed. I'm also putting non-factory ones in, but whatever. But oh well, that's what they wanted. That's what the client wanted. They didn't want to buy the factory ones, so we went with good reviewed aftermarket ones, and that's what we're gonna do. So we'll see. I'm gonna clean up these 2 ports and then move the camera and see if you can see the difference. But if you can see, there's not really as many lines there, and it's kind of a fresh surface. So I'm gonna do the other 4 ports, and then we're gonna put the manifold on. So, rather embarrassingly, phone died while recording that. So that is all cleaned up. I also wanted to share another quick tip. You don't have to use shop towels. You can use just regular paper towels. I wouldn't recommend using tissues because they kind of destroy themselves. But what I do is I spray this with brake clean, and wipe the actual surface here, you'll be surprised how much dirt and stuff is left over after cleaning it. A lot of people, they just clean it off and slap on whatever part they're doing, but there's so much stuff left on that surface. Is it going to cause a leak? I don't know, but would you really want all that stuff in between the gasket and the sealing surface? This is just it dry. That was after me wiping it once with brake clean. I threw the rag into like a container that has like the fuel and brake clean, so it kind of destroyed it. But this is like after one pass, and there's still a little bit left over. Not much. This I'm more okay with, but the other one was like covered, just gray from the material. So that's another thing I want to recommend. But yeah, we have a new gasket in there, new Male gasket. Also from PartsGeek, we're gonna install the manifold and go on from there. Another thing, one more thing I wanted to bring up: while you're under here, take a good look at everything under here. Make sure there's no chewed wires or anything that's broken. Rodents can get in very small places. You'll be really surprised. But just double check everything and really make sure all these are plugged in and installed correctly. These ones you can access with the manifold on, but those you cannot. So just make sure that everything's on correctly and everything's good to go before you put the manifold back on. Okay, new angle, because I don't have the right, I don't have a tripod or anything like that. So this is going to be quite literally the worst DIY video on here. But one other thing I did want to mention before you do put the manifold on, that may be a good idea, is hook the battery back up and just prime the system a couple times. Turn the key a couple times, make sure you have no leaks. This is not a high pressure fuel system, so literally whatever fuel pressure you get, it's only going to go into that port there and go into this rail. And that way you can check if there's any leaks before the injectors, whether it's the seals here or maybe even at the hose. Maybe you didn't have it plugged on right. So it's a good idea to do that before you put the manifold on. You're not working. You don't have to do that. Have to work backwards and taking the manifold off again. So I already did hook up the battery again. You can see the cable is hooked back up. I'm gonna hop in the car and just turn the key a couple times. Don't start it. Just put it in accessory mode. Where all the lights come on, and that will be enough to prime the system. We're gonna be clearing faults with the scan tool anyway. So if there's a check engine light, that's not the end of the world. So I'm gonna leave this running. I'm gonna go turn the key, and we'll see if there's any leaks or if anything blows up. I don't smell gas, so that must be a good sign. Or maybe it's leaking straight through into the combustion chamber, who knows? Or just before it anyway. But yeah, looking good, smells good. We can continue putting the rest of it on. Okay, phone fell over. I had to readjust again. But yeah, we're all good. Don't have any fuel leaks. We're gonna put the manifold on now. Make sure everything lines up correct. These bolts are captive bolts. Make sure you do not cross thread them going in. Do everything by hand, and then make sure nothing's pinched either, because that could also be awesome if that was the case. Okay, there we go. Okay. Now So the intake is now on. We're going to be torquing the intake manifold bolts. These are little bolts. You really don't want to over torque these because breaking them would super suck. Again, got a torque wrench set to 12 newton meters. That is the torque, or 105 inch-pounds, which is like, oh man, I don't even know. 120 inch-pounds is 10 foot-pounds, so a little less than 10 foot-pounds, I think. Anyway, whatever. You can find a conversion calculator. It's 12 newton meters. They do not give a pattern, but a good rule of thumb and what they actually say is to just start in the middle and work your way out. And do that once or 2 or 3 times, whenever you're comfortable and it's not moving too much, and that should have it pretty well torqued. Okay, there we go. That's 7 bolts, 7 times. You kind of see the counter there. I'm going to go across and do it one more time, and then we'll be good to put the rest of it back together. Some will have a little bit more. There we go. 14 torques. Practically, the rest is just kind of reinstall what you took off. Don't forget the bolts on the back. Through all data or no data, depending who you are. They don't give a torque spec. I couldn't find one for the back bolts. Just snug them up. You don't have to crank on them. They're not wheel lugs. Just snug them up. I typically try and use a smaller ratchet to kind of limit your torque. But just, like I said, just snug them up a little bit. Just make sure it's tight and it's not going to go anywhere. And make sure you get the lower one for the bracket if you did have to remove that. But I'm going to go and put the flap back on, start plugging some things back together, and I'll come back when I think I should show something else back off. Got all the little odds and ends for the most part back together. I am getting ready to put this like mixing tuning flap thing back in. I actually did not realize there was an O-ring for this. It was left inside the manifold, so make sure you get that again. This is one of those things I would put a lot more grease on. I might even put a little bit more than this. But this is not a huge deal. Being in the manifold, it's not going to cause that much of a problem. Yeah, I would recommend just lubricating this a lot and cleaning it up, make sure, because this one was all covered in oil. So just clean it up a little bit, wiped off all the oil, re-lubricated the O-rings. We're going to stick it right back in. So there's another thing I wanted to show you is the EGR. So this is the actual valve right here. That's what we had to remove in order to get this pipe out. There is a metal exhaust gasket that goes between the cylinder head and the valve itself. You really should replace this. I currently do not have one because I thought I didn't have to fully remove it, but here we are. I am going to be reusing this, and if I do have any problems, I am going to replace it right away. But I am going to be reusing this metal gasket. These bolts also get torqued to 30 newton meters or 22 foot-pounds. So pretty easy access, shouldn't be too bad to do. I can't imagine this gasket's very expensive either, if you are in a pinch or if you absolutely need one. Okay, we just finished doing all the work. We're gonna turn the car on. Well, we already did clear the faults with my Phoenix, with my topped-on Phoenix Light 2. Awesome little scan tool. But now we're actually gonna fire it up. Make sure we don't have a steady check engine light. It sounded pretty good. It's running smooth and not idling rough anymore. Okay, just finished our test drive. I am doing this at night, so it is pretty dark outside. But put about 6 to 8 miles, something like that. Went back just to check, and we still have focus, no DTCs. So no more faults in the engine control module anymore. Car is all fixed. Okay, well, that's that. We replaced all the injectors, replaced the intake manifold gasket, test drove, confirmed the repair, and everything seems to be good with that. Yeah, that's pretty much all I have. Thank you for watching.